Today we're going to dive into the world of plants versus zombies and uncover some wild facts about the plants. I mean, who needs a boring garden when you can have an army of killer vegetation defending your home from brain-hungry zombies? Before we start, how about hitting that subscribe button? It'll make Mr. Peace happy, no pressure, but it's the right thing to do. First up, the pea shooter. You might have thought it was inspired by that Pokemon Bellsprout, right? With its sprout-like design and all. But nope, the pea shooter is actually based on Pisum sativum, also known as the garden pea. And while Bellsprout is all about the pitcher plant, the pea shooter is just trying to get you to eat your veggies. So, no, it's not a Pokemon. Sorry to burst your nerdy bubble. Next, let's talk about sunflower. Because what's a zombie apocalypse without a little sunshine, right? Sunflowers produce sunlight for you, and it only takes about 4 to 10 seconds for that first beam of sun to shine down upon you. Then every 24 seconds, they'll keep feeding you more sunlight, like a vending machine that only gives you pennies. Oh, and did you know? The sunflower appears on the Zen Garden fertilizer bag. Talk about product placement? That's some real corporate synergy right there. Now the cherry bomb. We all love the explosion, the chaos, and the way it turns zombies to crispy ash. But here's a fun little secret. When a pole vaulting zombie is in midair and a cherry bomb goes off, that zombie literally vanishes. Poof, gone. No ashes, no remains. It's like the zombie was never even there. Talk about an immaculate disappearance. But don't get too excited. That doesn't happen every time. It's like the game's way of teasing you, and then we have the walnut. Oh yes, this little guy is the unsung hero. It's the only plant that doubles as both offensive and defensive. On one hand, it's blocking zombies like it's a wall. On the other hand, in walnut bowling, it's launching itself like a torpedo at zombies. I mean, talk about multitasking, and if you didn't know, it's the one plant that takes the longest for a regular zombie to consume. About 80 seconds. Yes, it's tough. It can last longer than your average relationship. Snow pea might disappoint some people when it's planted behind a torchwood, because instead of becoming a fiery, aqua-blazing pea, it just becomes a regular frozen pea. It's like expecting fireworks and getting a sparkler. The disappointment is real, I know. Moving on to the chomper, this guy's got the best job in the garden. He's based on the Venus flytrap, and he's the only instant kill plant that can't take out a gargantua. You'd think that with all those teeth, he'd be able to handle a giant zombie, but nope. Apparently size does matter. Ever notice how sometimes the pea shooter shoots only one pea instead of two? It's like the game just gets tired of working and decides to throw you a curveball. It happens on the first shot. It's like it has its own mood swings and you're just left wondering what happened to the second pea. Now let's talk about the puff shroom. The almanac says it has a short range, but guess what? That's a lie. The puff shroom can actually shoot all the way to the end of the lawn, like it's trying to prove the almanac wrong. But don't let that fool you. It's still as weak as a kitten on a cold day. Fume shroom is another quirky little mushroom. It's the only mushroom that moves its cap and not its whole body. While all other mushrooms do a little wiggle dance, the fume shroom is like, nah, I'll just move my hat. I'm too cool for the full body wiggle. Now who's ready for a grave buster fact? Did you know it's the only non-mushroom plant you'll encounter at night? Yet, somehow, it's not considered a nocturnal plant. You'd think they'd give it a little more credit, considering it's digging up graves and causing all kinds of spooky shenanigans. Oh, and if a plumber zombie eats a puff shroom, it'll instantly disappear. Poof, gone. Like that zombie never existed. Magic. Doom shroom is the plant equivalent of a wrecking ball. It can destroy other plants like lily pads, pumpkins, and even flower pots. And you know what's crazy? It's got friendly fire activated. So, don't get too cocky with that one. It'll blow up your own plants if you're not careful. It's basically the explosive equivalent of a toddler with a grenade. The squash is a little different from the others. It's the only plant in the entire game that has a voice. Yeah, you heard that right. This squash talks. So next time you use it, just know that you're not just throwing vegetables at zombies. You're hearing a squash say, hey, I'm helping you out here. The spikeweed is one tough cookie. It can survive 9 shots from a gargantua before it gives up. Imagine being able to take that kind of punishment and still keep going. It's like the Rocky Balboa of plants. This little guy doesn't quit. Coffee bean is pretty special too. It's the only plant that floats in the almanac, and it levitates in the Zen garden. So, apparently, coffee beans are so magical that they just float around like they're too cool to touch the ground. You wish your morning coffee was this extra, don't you? And let's not forget the Gatling pea, which has the slowest recharge rate of all the pea shooter variants. It's like the game was like, sure, you can have more peas per shot, but you're going to wait forever to get them. It's like an old-timey vending machine, slow but eventually you'll get what you want. Gloom Shroom is the most expensive mushroom in the game and has the shortest firing range. It's like paying top dollar for a fancy dinner and then getting served a snack. It's the kind of plant that'll make you question your life choices. But then it unleashes such devastating damage that you'll forgive it. Let's talk about Magnet Shroom for a second. It doesn't steal a zombie's weapon when the zombie's been hypnotized. That's right. A zombie could be carrying around a huge metal shovel or a rake, and the Magnet Shroom will just look at it and say, "Nah, I'm not going to mess with that." But when it's next to a golden magnet, it activates for some reason, kind of like a weird symbiotic relationship. And finally, Imitator. This plant costs a fortune, 30,000 sun. But here's the catch. It can't copy upgrade plants. So don't even think about imitating a Gatling Pea and then trying to upgrade it to be better. Nice try, but it's not going to happen.
Please hit that subscribe button for Mr. Peace. It's free and helps me out a lot. Here's something cool. You can actually see a pea shooter's peas moving through its stem before firing. And while Sunflower is the second plant you get in the game, she's actually first in both the seed selection screen and almanac. Oh, and here's a tip. Placing a boosted walnut on an already damaged walnut won't activate the boost. Cabbage Pult is your first offensive plant in the game. In Dark Ages, when a Jester zombie deflects a boomerang's attack, the boomerang nullifies the damage instead of taking it. And watch out! If Iceberg Lettuce gets stunned by a boom balloon zombie's effect, any zombie bite will instantly destroy it. Fun fact, punk zombies will bite a Gravebuster instead of kicking it when their music is playing. And Bonk Choy? It's a bug zombie destroyer, instantly defeating any type, whether Conehead or Buckethead. Repeater's plant food effect plus Torchwood's fire can take down a normal Gargantua. Add Torchwood's napalm fire, and you can even defeat a Jurassic Gargantua. At level 10, Twin Sunflower matches Primal Sunflower's 150 sun production, but it's less efficient due to higher cost and slower recharge. Colonel Pult's butter stops pianist zombies' music and prevents zombie lane changes. Snapdragon's attack range includes tiles directly above and below, perfect for clearing tombstones. Here's a pro tip. In the Don't Let the Zombies Trample the Flowers challenge, you can plant spikeweed on the flowers to block zombies. And here's something funny. Springbean tries to bounce illuminated zombies even though they're not alive. Water logic works in the Zen Garden. Watering coconut cannon extinguishes its fuse. When zombies get too close to 3-Peter, it fights back with 2 heads at once. Hair Metal Gargantua's shockwave instantly destroys Spike Rock, no matter its level. And if you plant a cherry bomb right as the game ends, its animation freezes. Split Pea has a sneaky advantage. It can attack Excavator Zombie and Jester Zombie from behind, where they can't block or reflect projectiles. And here's something weird. When Seagull and Pelican zombies eat chili bean, the gas comes from their heads. Peapod's plant food effect can damage Jester Zombie, probably because it's too big to reflect. Lightning Weed has a funny Easter egg. Zap a big balloon zombie and you'll see a skeleton riding a vintage bicycle inside. Melon Pult has a quirk. Zombies right next to it don't get hit instantly. Tallnut's got style with a one-piece reference costume. Monkey D. Luffy's straw hat and red tank top. Despite being a cold plant, Wintermelon still gets frozen in frostbite caves. Level 2 Hot Potato gains damage abilities. Chardguard and Aloe make an amazing team. Aloe's healing gives Chardguard all its leaves back, solving its biggest weakness. Here's a weird interaction. Stunned zombies pushed by Hurricane onto slider tiles stay frozen until the stun wears off. Rotobaga's special talent? It floats on water in Big Wave Beach. No lily pad needed, making it great against fisherman zombies. Red Stinger has a limitation. No walnut first aid healing when placed on the right side. Colonel Pult's launchers just puff smoke when there's no target. Like other lob shot plants, Endurian excels against pterodactyl-carried zombies and can hit sneaky prospector zombies from behind. At level 5, Stalia learns a new trick, knocking back stunned zombies. Gold Leaf goes full anime with a Super Saiyan costume from Dragon Ball. That's all for today. I'm switching to weekly uploads, so catch you next week.
First up, the Bombardment Potato Mine, a plant so passive-aggressive that when you use its plant food, it throws 5 clones at the zombies. Not just 1, not 2, but 5. And here's the kicker, doesn't even matter what level it's at. You could have a level 1 potato mine and it'll still throw a mini-army at the zombies like it's auditioning for a new job in a zombie apocalypse movie. You know, because why not? It's like the potato mine just got super mad and started multiplying. Next we have blubber, because who wouldn't want a plant named after something that sounds like it belongs on a 90s cartoon? This one's a wild one. If you use its ability on a dandelion, it blows all the seeds out and bam! Dandelion can't attack for 10 seconds. 10 seconds. That's like the zombie equivalent of taking a coffee break. But hey, at least blubber can clear 3 lanes of zombies. It's like an overzealous vacuum cleaner going wild on the lawn. Our Ankylosaurus, you know, the dinosaur that just can't stop hitting things. If it somehow knocks a zombie toward a blue plasma ball from Citrine's plant food, something strange happens. The zombie might start floating. Yep, floating. Is it a glitch? Maybe. Is it weird? Absolutely. But who doesn't love a zombie with an identity crisis? It's the best way to make your zombies feel like they've just entered a zero-gravity zone. Then there's Impeach. Not to be confused with Impeach like you're just throwing a fruit at something. No, this one has the power to temporarily disable some of the toughest zombies out there, like Bull Rodeo zombies and Treasure Yeti. Because apparently even Yeti need to take a nap every now and then. Seriously, just toss a few of these out, and it's like telling the zombies, hey, take 5, we're on break. Moving on to the force field, this little beauty is the perfect counter to the fisherman, octo, and surfer zombies. The force field does what it's supposed to, blocks everything. It's like a force field at a party. It won't let the weird guy with the fishing rod, the zombie who wants to wrap you up in a tentacle, or that surfer who just can't stay on his board crash the scene. Yeah, let's block those guys from ruining the fun. Then we have turnip, the most expensive plant in the game. I mean, come on, this thing costs more sun than you can even store, maxing out at 9,900. That's right, it can actually exceed the sun limit. It's like the plant version of that one friend who orders the most expensive thing on the menu and then acts like they don't know how it happened. But it's okay, you'll still throw out a turnip if you're feeling extra fancy. Next, let's talk about pepper pulp. This little guy might look like a spicy tomato, but let's be real, it has the least damaging splash damage of all the lob shot plants. Yeah, it's like the guy who shows up at the party claiming they can totally handle the karaoke mic, but when it's their turn, they just mumble through the lyrics. Great potential, but not much to show for it. Now here's something fun, Poptrum, the first plant that starts a chain reaction when fed plant food. So, you plant it, feed it, and boom, you get a combination of laser beam and hurricane effects. It's like a zombie apocalypse mixed with a wild tornado-like laser show. Perfect for when you want to feel like a mad scientist experimenting on zombies. Speaking of stacking effects, let's talk about Sunbeam. If you feed the same zombie with Sunbeam multiple times, it doesn't just give you more sun once. Oh no, it multiplies it. It's like those buy one get one free deals at the store but with sun. Zombies are not only getting attacked, they're paying for the privilege with their life and your increasing solar credit. Enjoy the benefits, zombie. Now Sports Room, this one's pretty interesting. It's a great counter to zombie summoners like importers and bug zombies. And here's the cool part. When it defeats them, they don't drop their equipment or spawn more zombies. So instead of a mess of extra enemies to deal with, you just get rid of them completely. Think of it like a bouncer at a club who just kicks out the troublemakers without letting them start a fight. Pretty effective, right? And finally, Grimrose, the plant that you can't blink for a second around. If you're not fast enough, Grimrose will disappear and you'll just have a sad patch of dirt where it used to be. It's like that one person who leaves your party early and you didn't even notice until it's too late. Grimrose also has the honor of being eaten by seagull and pelican zombies in pirate seas. It's like the zombie snack bar is open for business. Before we go, here's a fun fact about Power Lily. If you plant this at the very end of the level, guess what? It won't produce any plant food. Instead, it'll just hang out, doing its little idle animation, living its best life as a plant that's too cool to even try. And you paid the sun for that. Classic. We're starting with the imitator plant. Now, this little copycat might seem lazy at first, but here's a fun fact. When it copies a boosted plant, the imitated version also gets the boost. That's right, it doesn't just mimic the plant's appearance, it gets the good stuff too. It's like that one friend who always gets in on the VIP treatment by being really good at pretending to be you. Oh, and in case you're wondering, it's not like the first game where the copycat just sat there unimpressed. No, the imitator gets a full-on power-up. Speaking of plant upgrades, let's talk about Chomper. You know the one, right? The plant that's always hungry and somehow more effective than most of us at dealing with problems. In Plants vs. Zombies 2, Chomper can now devour up to 4 zombies at a time. Yeah, forget the old days of just one sad zombie snack. Now he's a full-on zombie buffet. It's like going from a snack size to an all-you-can-eat special at your favorite buffet, except, with fewer breathing people. If that's not an upgrade, I don't know what is. Now moving on to Toadstool, a true legend in the making. You may think this mushroom's only good for sitting there and doing its thing, but did you know that if it's riding a minecart and is about to eat a zombie, it can still finish the job even if you decide to move it? That's right. You think you're being all clever switching lanes, and Toadstool's like, yeah, nope, I've got this zombie to devour. Nothing you do is going to stop me. This plant is the definition of get out of my way, I have important business to handle. Let's get explosive with Strawburst. This little guy doesn't just sit there and look cute. No, when a zombie gets too close, Strawburst has a very special death animation. It's not just a sad sigh and a flop. No, this little guy goes out in a blaze of glory. Explosions, fireworks, chaos, just like that one friend who insists on making an entrance at every party. Subtlety? Who needs it? But wait, the fun doesn't stop there. Ever placed cactus in the third column from the right? No? Well, let me tell you, you're missing out. When you do this, you'll disable the Ankylosaurus's attack. That's right. You can stop this massive rampaging zombie from doing its thing by just putting a cactus in its path. It's like sticking a do not enter sign in front of a freight train. The Ankylosaurus just stops, looks confused, and probably questions all its life choices. And you're just over there sipping your lemonade because you strategically placed a cactus. Speaking of plants that seem to work against all odds, let's talk about electric blueberry. At low levels, this blueberry has a 5% chance of zapping a gargantua. That's right, a 5% chance. I don't know if that's lucky or just sad, but if it actually happens, you can basically consider yourself the luckiest PvZ player alive. You might as well start buying lottery tickets and telling your friends, yeah, I zapped a gargantua with a blueberry today. What did you do with your life? Honestly, that's more than most people can say. And now Jack-o'-lantern. Remember when I said plants can defy the laws of physics? Yeah, this one does that. Normally water would douse any flame-based plant, right? Not Jack-o'-lantern. His flames are like, nah, I'm good, even when the water comes in from places like Pirate Seas and Big Wave Beach. It's like he just shrugged and went, water? Whatever. I'm just going to keep on burning, thank you very much. I'm honestly not sure how that works, but who's going to argue with a pumpkin that won't let water ruin its vibe? But wait, let's get weirder. You've heard of jester zombies, right? These little clowns are a pain in the neck, but did you know they can reflect bouncing grape projectiles? Yeah, that's right. If you've ever thrown a bouncing grape at a jester zombie, just know that it's probably going to reflect back at you with massive damage. It's like getting hit by your own boomerang, except it's a grape, and you've already spent too many coins on it. Thank you, Jester, for being the absolute worst. Let's take a break from the chaos and talk about parsnip. This plant is special because when you use plant food, something magical happens. The smaller versions of parsnip wear the same costume as the main plant. It's like a bizarre version of dress up, but with more roots and less fun. Can you imagine walking down the street and seeing a bunch of little versions of you wearing your exact outfit? Yeah, that's what parsnip is doing. It's totally normal, right? And oh, here's a fun one, electric pea shooter. When you fire off his projectiles, they have the delightful ability to target trap tiles. Now, don't get too excited because, shocker, it does nothing to the trap tiles. It's like throwing a snowball at a brick wall, so much potential, so much disappointment. But hey, at least the pea shooter's out here trying to make a difference, even if it's a pointless one. Let's get real with Holly Barrier. This plant has a very specific quirk when it's resurrected by intensive carrot. The damage value glitches and causes its damage to underflow. Basically, it goes from destroying zombies to destroying itself because it forgot how math works. Classic plant move. And last but definitely not least, we have Blubber and Squash. The Squash targets zombies, but here's the kicker. If the Squash is targeting a flying zombie and you plant Blubber, it somehow chases the zombie off the screen. That's right, Blubber doesn't just sit there. It actively takes the Squash's attention and chases the zombie out of sight. It's like trying to get rid of an annoying relative at Thanksgiving by just saying, you know what, it's time for you to leave. No, really. And there you have it, a whole bunch of weird, quirky, and just plain bizarre facts about your favorite Plants vs. Zombies 2 plants. Who knew these plants had such a wild side? Stay tuned for more and don't forget to like and subscribe because, well, I could really use the help. See you next time. Let's kick things off with a truth that might just blow your mind. Any knockback effect on zombies instantly cancels out containment's stunning effect. So yeah, forget about slowing them down or freezing them in place. The second you knock them back, it's like they've been given a free pass to do whatever the heck they want. Who needs strategy when you've got chaos, right? Now let's talk about enforcement, one of those plants that seems like it's doing a lot but is actually pretty lazy. At level 1, it shrinks only 10 random zombies. Seriously? Just 10? I'm sure those 10 are having a great time feeling all small, but the rest of the zombies are probably just rolling their eyes and marching on like, oh, that's cute. Shrink me next, please. Moving on to a plant that's all about sweet appearances. Armament's projectiles look suspiciously like peppermint candies. I don't know about you, but I've never been so terrified of a candy before. If I'm out there in the zombie apocalypse and some minty fresh candy is flying at my face, I'd be confused for a solid 5 seconds before I get eaten. Now here's a little fun tidbit. If the chicken wrangler zombie or weasel hoarder is affected by concealment, guess what? No chickens or weasels. It's like being invited to a party and then realizing the host forgot to order the pizza. Total disappointment. Don't worry though, Spike Rock is here to save the day, sort of. If you boost it with a spearmint, it can activate its plant food ability. Honestly, I don't even know how that works, but I'm just going to nod and smile. Let's talk about torchwood, because who doesn't love a good fire starter? When you pair huge peas with torchwood, you've got firepower in the form of fiery peas. It's like a barbecue, but with more zombies getting roasted. Now here's the kicker. If a jester zombie happens to deflect one of those fireballs, guess what? Torchwood's whole setup gets ruined and the plants in front of it catch on fire. Thanks, Jester, for ruining the fun for everyone. Here's a fun combo for you. Boosted starfruit under a gargantua. The projectiles from the starfruit hit all of its projectiles. It's like starfruit is standing there, just casually deflecting all this incoming junk. Talk about multitasking. It's like the plant equivalent of juggling. Next up, we've got the wild ride that is dandelion at high levels. At higher levels, it transforms its projectiles from harmless seeds to full-blown bombs. I mean, that's one heck of an upgrade. It's like, sure, I'll start off gentle with some seeds, but watch out because I'm packing explosives later on. Speaking of damage upgrades, Blooming Hearts has an interesting mechanic. Every time it deals damage, it increases its own damage by 10, up to a maximum of 50. Honestly though, getting it to the max damage feels like it takes forever. You're just sitting there patiently waiting for it to become a powerhouse, while zombies just keep walking past it like it's no big deal. And then there's Bomber Granite. This one's kind of a letdown. If it gets imitated, it will only spawn 8 seeds, not even a full load. No seeds for you, Bomber Granite. It's like inviting friends over and having no snacks. Disappointing. Now here's a fun zombie interaction, the Surfer Zombie. His surfboard is so cool that it triggers the explosion of an explode donut. But hold up, he's invincible during his smashing animation. So, enjoy your party trick, Explode Donut, because the Surfer Zombie's just too cool for you. For all the Aloe fans out there, this is for you. Aloe works wonders with Charguard. If Charguard gets hurt and Aloe heals it, all of its missing ammunition is refilled. So basically, if you time it right, you could stall zombies forever. It's like a weird broken system that somehow works. Zombies? Yeah, they're not going anywhere. Here's a weird one. Hot Date can kill Lymph Dragon Zombie despite the fact that Lymph Dragon Zombie is immune to fire. It's like Hot Date has a special power that defies logic. Fire immunity? Nah, not today. Tomato is a great counter for the arcade zombie. When it hits, it gives you 50 sun. That's some serious sun generation right there. And honestly, who wouldn't want 50 sun for every arcade zombie you hit? At this rate, Tomato should just start handing out free suns to everyone. Here's a cool plant, the Shadow Pea Shooter. When it's boosted, it will always use its powered plant food effect, whether it's powered or not. This means it's basically a cheater. The Shadow Pea Shooter is like, who needs to follow the rules? I'm just going to do my thing regardless. Goopy Shooter is the sticky cousin of Pea Shooter. It's like Pea Shooter had a sibling who never quite got it together, but they still showed up to the party anyway. Think of Goopy as Pea Shooter's more chaotic, sticky alter ego. Now here's a weird one. Frozen Perbine. This plant is the only one that can attack all 5 lanes, without the help of plant food. It's like it took all the best aspects of plants and said, yeah, I'll just do all that on my own, thanks. And if you've ever wondered how to deal with zombie Medusa, Snap Pea has your back. It can not only eat Medusa, but it also petrifies other zombies upon hit. Medusa, more like Medusa and friends, because you're all getting frozen in place. Also, if Snap Pea eats a Dodo Rider zombie, it throws the imp's head. Not the dodos, the imps. The dodos just, along for the ride. Here's a strange one. Soybean pod fed with plant food during boombox. Zombie's special ability creates 2 zomboid gargantuas. Yeah, that's right, not 1 but 2. I don't know why this happens, but it sure feels like it shouldn't. Let's wrap this up with Electro City, whose passive zaps are basically a joke. 3 damage? Seriously? That's weaker than a light breeze. But hey, at least its plant food effect targets zombies behind it, so it's like it's trying to do something even if it's not great at it. Daisy Chain starts with 20 damage and increases 20 per stage, maxing out at 60 damage. But don't get too excited, because it's just not that impressive. It's like a slow burn of disappointment. Jester Zombie loves to reflect plant food abilities, including those from Daisy Chain. He's basically the plant equivalent of that guy who ruins the fun for everyone. Thanks, Jester. Let's finish on a weird note. Pumpkin Zombie stuck in a gun nut can be ice blocked by Ice Bloom. And guess what? Gargantua is only partially affected by Ice Bloom. His smashing weapon gets frozen, but the rest of him... Nah, he's good. Oh, and let's not forget about Zombie King. This guy can turn the frozen peasant zombies into night zombies. It's like he's a king, but he's just using his power for petty stuff. Let's start with Dartichoke, shall we? This little guy is basically a high priority, take no prisoners kind of plant. He doesn't just pick zombies at random. No. Dartichoke goes straight for the big fish, like the zombies Dr. Zomboss summons. But here's the twist. Dartichoke has some serious beef with Zomboss. It doesn't even care about him. It's too busy taking out the new zombies Zomboss throws in, which is basically like telling the boss, sorry buddy, you're not my priority today. Classic move. Next up, Ultimato. Now, Ultimato is supposed to be a big deal with its massive explosions, right? Well, brace yourself for this mind-bending secret. If you plant another Ultimato right next to it, the first one gets a total reset on its cooldown timer. Yup. It's like hitting the undo button in the middle of an explosion. So, if you're ever feeling overwhelmed by zombies, just plant another one, and boom, another reset. If only life worked this way, imagine cancelling your meetings just by sending out another invite. Now let's talk about Gumnut. You know that feeling when you've been having a rough day and suddenly someone just kicks you when you're down? That's what happens when Gumnut gets stunned by boombox zombies. Any zombie can stroll up to it and basically turn it into their lunch. It's a reinforcement plant that's so fragile, it makes a wet paper towel look sturdy. Not exactly the hero of the plant world. But hey, at least it tries, right? Speaking of things that try, here comes Shinebine. You think this plant is all about producing sun and helping you out, but nope, it quits the sun job and decides it's going to let Magnifying Grass do all the heavy lifting. So much for teamwork, Shinebine. You've got your free ride now. But wait, it's not all bad. When Magnifying Grass starts attacking for free, at least you don't have to think about it. Just sit back, relax, and let someone else do the work. It's the dream. Then we have Olive Pit, a plant that gets way more credit than it probably deserves. But hear me out. This plant is a great counter against certain zombies like Troglobite, Arcade, and Medusa. Why? Because it blocks their path like a bouncer at a club. The zombies can't push past it, so they just wander off, defeated and confused. It's like Olive Pit is standing there saying, sorry buddy, not today, and the zombies just walk away like it's no big deal. But here's something truly bizarre, Explodabine. This is the plant equivalent of a ninja. You can't see it, it's impossible to damage, and it simply sneaks past all the zombies. It just walks by, minding its own business, and won't even explode if a surfer zombie crushes it with his surfboard. Talk about playing it cool. I mean, who knew a plant could be this chill? It's the epitome of you can't touch me energy. Now Turkey Pult. Oh, this one's a fan favorite, and for good reason. It's basically the Thanksgiving of PVZ2. The problem? It can't hit submerged snorkel zombies, even though the turkeys it throws can. I mean, how ridiculous is that? The turkeys are all like, sure, I can fly, but I just can't deal with the snorkel dudes. It's the plant equivalent of a bird refusing to dive into the pool because it doesn't feel like getting wet. Oh, and Hocus Crocus. Let's just say this plant has a flair for the dramatic. When Magic King zombies come around, you'll actually hear it say Hocus before unleashing its magical powers. That's right, it talks. Not that the zombies are paying attention to it, they're just there for the magic, but hey, at least it's trying to make the whole situation a little more theatrical. Then there's Powervine, which honestly, if you don't know about it, you're missing out. Powervine is the only plant in the entire game that shoots in a 3-shot burst. That's right, folks, this is not your average plant. It's like a machine gun in the form of a vine. Forget about regular pea shooters. Power Vine is here to make sure all the zombies get a full-on multi-shot barrage in their faces. And what about Mega Gatling Pea? This one is a doozy because it's the most expensive seed packet in the game. But let me tell you, it's worth every penny. If you've got 1,000 sun to spare, this plant shoots so many peas you'll think you've accidentally summoned an entire artillery squad. If only it didn't break the bank to get it. Okay, now let's talk about Bamboo Spartan. This guy is the definition of a tough plant. It's got a shield, and that shield is strong, until it's not. You see, once the shield is destroyed, you can't use a plant food to bring it back. You can't even pair it with aloe to get the shield back. It's like Bamboo Spartan is just sitting there going, well, guess that's it for me, huh? But when it does have its shield, it's a tank. So, yeah, enjoy it while it lasts. Lastly, Marigold. Oh, Marigold. She's the only plant in the game that can't just be casually planted on the lawn like every other plant. No. You need to coat her to use her. It's like she has VIP access only. She's too important for the regular lawn. But once you've done the whole process, she'll grace you with her presence and give you some decent rewards. But you better earn it first.